The movie opens up showing a couple expressing their urge for a child. After a few months we are shown that a woman named Madeline is expecting a child, and there are only a few days until the birth. Madeline used to take the fertility drug because she had some issues in conceiving. Welcome to Review Recapped. Support our efforts by subscribing and turning on the notifications, please. It means us a lot. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy. It has also come to know here that her mother-in-law's behavior was rude towards her. The reason was as she wanted to keep Madeline under her control. But Madeline was not willing for it and she used to dislike her. Her mother-in-law used to say, "Have an appointment of my suggested doctor." But Madeline was not satisfied with that doctor because he was not taking her condition seriously. Both decide to contact the nurse midwife rather than to go to the hospital. Nurse midwives used to be considered the trained health professionals. They were hired to take care of the expectant ladies. They are not doctors by profession, which irritates Madeline's mother-in-law. She says to her, "You must visit the hospital in this critical condition." In spite of this, she hires a nurse. But Madeline convinces him, saying nothing will happen. Nurse says to them, "I am trained in my profession, don't worry, and you will both face no issue. And baby will be conceived easily." They had a pet cat in their house which used to hunt the rats a lot. They never liked it because tasty food was already given to it by them. Once Madeline suffered pain in her chest after a dinner. Being worried, her husband brings her into the hospital. A doctor who treats her is familiar with her mother-in-law. Madeline does not consider him good, and same case is with her husband coincidentally. They forbid the doctor to treat her, but he does not agree. Here Madeline's husband contacts nurse. Here it is also exposed that Madeline's mother-in-law had much hatred that she could make Madeline killed. Madeline used to keep herself away from her, having a little idea about it. Later, nurse comes to hospital after her husband's call and says to doctor, "She is my patient. Please, don't cure her." Madeline and her husband are driving off to their house at night. Unfortunately, an accident has occurred with them. There was shocking news that Madeline's husband loses his life all of a sudden. Madeline's blood is also much wasted here. She is wounded enough. She contacts to that nurse for help who is treating her. She brings her at her house. But it is shown here that she is unable to treat her properly, so it was essential to take her into the hospital. Because her condition was worsening. But what could be done? Madeline herself was not willing to go to the hospital. Being professional, nurse had known that Madeline's unborn baby had also died in that accident. But Madeline was breathing with the dead body because she had no knowledge about it. Nurse keeps it secret before Madeline because she had got this good news after a long time. Now she had also lost her husband. A few days were left of baby's birth and Madeline yearned to see her baby with her own eyes. In the next scene, it is shown that, suffering severe pain, baby is delivered with a difficulty by Madeline. Nurse starts weeping seeing it because the baby was already dead. Taking in her lap, Madeline says to her baby, "Please come back." And it is shown that all of a sudden baby starts breathing. Taking it incredible, nurse is left shocked. Madeline smiles, having a look of her baby, and names her Grace. That nurse is thinking it strange because she was aware that the baby was dead many days ago. So she herself suggests Madeline, "You must visit the hospital. Have medical test of yours and your baby." Madeline does not ask help from her mother-in-law while disagreeing on it. Now the story is shown after a few months later, where Madeline was fostering her baby, living at her house. On the other side, her mother-in-law is shown, who was very disturbed and dejected after losing her son. More hatred had taken place in her heart for Madeline. She was mentally disturbed at the loss of her son. So she wanted to bring up a baby now. So she wanted to bring her granddaughter to her. Being stressful, she struggles to get her granddaughter. Contrarily, Madeline comes on the scene, who has gone feeble-minded. Further, she is brushing Grace's hair. Her hair are damaged in the hair brush because she is lost at this time. As a result, Grace's head is wounded. Later a strange thing is shown, that there are always flies around Grace. Madeline used to disgust it. A fly also goes into the nostrils of Grace. Next day, Madeline arranges a net around Grace to protect her from the flies. But flies were still moving around her in a surprised way. And they were flying over her. On the coming day, Madeline has also sealed the windows. Grace's movements were strange. She was fed by her mother. But it was indigestible. She was always unable to digest it. Madeline had started to be worried about Grace due to this. Because she had not been fed for last many days. Madeline had an assistant through whom she used to send messages to nurse. Because she was the only friend of Madeline. But nurse is also unable to help her. Because Madeline's assistant was not conveying her messages to her. On the other side, Madeline's mother-in-law is shown who was conspiring to snatch her granddaughter from her. Madeline was terrified that if she went to the hospital, the doctors would kidnap her daughter Grace. Being afraid, she used to keep herself in her house throughout the day and night. After a time, Madeline notices that Grace is harming her instead of feeding. Madeline observes it but ignores. Because she had affections for her daughter. She did not want to lose her. So she let her to harm. But it was clear before her that Grace is not behaving like the normal babies. She was digesting blood instead of anything else. And she was filling her appetite with blood. So she let her to do for her love. It is seen later that Grace has a very bad odor. That bad odor continued to come even though Madeline bathed her many times. And flies will also not leave her. In market, Madeline sees raw meat. She has a fact that Grace feeds blood. She thinks, why not? Grace's appetite may quench with its blood, taking this raw meat. Coming at home, she wrings all blood from the raw meat. She fills the feeder with it. But Grace behaves mysteriously. She again starts vomiting while not digesting the animal's blood. Madeline gets an idea that Grace can only digest human beings' blood. Not getting blood, she had started to fall ill. Madeline could not reveal this secret to anyone. Knowing it, either they take Grace in their custody or end her. Madeline observes that her pet cat was bringing the dead rats for Grace. It seems that Cat also knows about Grace as she wants to take blood. Contrarily, Madeline's mother-in-law is conspiring to snatch her granddaughter soon from her. She talks to a doctor regarding it. She says to him, prove Madeline mentally sick. As a result, she can have custody of her granddaughter. Madeline was gradually weakening. Even she had no clear vision now. She used to shiver and stumble. Next day, same doctor visits her house who had been sent to prove Madeline mad by her mother-in-law. Madeline's current condition was witnessing her sickness. She herself asks help from the doctor without revealing about her wounds and Grace. Injecting Madeline, doctor hears the frightful sound of Grace when she starts weeping. Doctor feels awkward hearing the frightful sound of a little baby. And he goes to check Grace in spite of unwillingness of Madeline. Meanwhile, doctor is fallen down as Madeline strikes his head. Madeline suddenly thinks, she may give the blood of this doctor to Grace. Tearing his body with scissors, she fills the feeder with his blood. She begins to feed Grace with this blood. Here it is shown that Grace is drinking that blood pleasurably. Madeline hides the dead body of doctor in the lavatory. Now the situation had gone worse and Madeline was lost in the love of her daughter. On the other side, her mother is preparing the things for her granddaughter. She had also decorated child's room and arranges a feeder for her. She was sure that her sent doctor will fulfill her assigned task. She will be able to attain her granddaughter. Then she herself goes to Madeline's house when the doctor does not come back after a long time. At that time, Madeline was engaged to dispose of the dead body of the doctor. Coming back, Madeline does not find Grace at her place. She glimpses her mother-in-law on the stairs who was shown taking Grace. Madeline requests her, bring my daughter back to me. But she disagrees. She strikes hammer on Madeline's head. As a result Madeline is fallen down but she is alive. Then Madeline cuts her throat as she comes near her. And she breaks her head, hitting the same hammer. Meanwhile, that nurse approaches there because she was worrying about Madeline. She becomes evident of all. In the end it is shown that nurse is going somewhere with Madeline and her pet cat. Madeline had weakened while Grace was in teething process. She has started to eat the flesh with the sucking of blood. Grace's blood was drawn with the assistance of a nurse. Finally, it is revealed that Grace has begun to eat Madeline flesh. Now there was a full surety that she will eat others in order to quench her hunger. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.